Okay, let's get into some nitty-gritty of the pre-tournament tournaments. If you're in a World Cup qualification outside of UEFA, tough luck. Most of the time, your quadrennial cycle will end up just like every single season of Cleveland Browns. Even Australia said, "Oi mate, know that" in Australian and bailed to AFC. However, Asia has a particularly interesting path before this jumbled mess. Japan was a late bloomer. Iran and Saudi are always a powerhouse, and South Korea had a very messy first try, but AFC is a cakewalk for them. Then again, what is the point of power when luck is on your side? (1964). Every single African country withdrew in protest since Asia, Oceania, and Africa has to fight for one single World Cup entry. South Africa eventually disqualified anyway due to apartheid in 1965. For a while, they struggled to find a neutral venue until Norodom Sihanouk called them over to play in Cambodia. Despite this showcase of rare North Korean international relationship, South Korea just said, "Yeah, nah, we're good." They withdrew, leaving too. In 1966, North Korea surprisingly made it into the quarterfinals. The CIA of South Korea made a football team to compete against DPRK, and Australia is stuck on an island. Quite literally. But all of them were not even the very first World Cup participant from Asia. That title goes to Hindia Belanda.
Wow!
Now, let's pause for a second. From this point onward, the term withdraw will be very vague. Austria literally had to withdraw since they got f***ing Anschlussed. To get into the World Cup, Dutch East Indies had to play a qualification game against Japan in Saigon, and then eventually the United States in Rotterdam. For some reason, they both pulled out. I don't know why. Without playing a single game, that is how Hindia Belanda became the very first World Cup participant from Asia. Let's face it, Indonesia had so many dramas surrounding football. 1998 was a pretty interesting year. There was also a time when two professional football leagues went on for almost 3 years, where everybody called everyone corrupt. And eventually FIFA just said, "Hey, go to a corner, think about what you just done." But boy, let me tell you about this Hindia Belanda team. It's the colonials' favorite activity, segregation time. So, remember about this thing? Boy, they do love them some skin color based ELO rating, the system that is also assimilated into football. Colonial Dutch had NIVB, whom later replaced by NIVU after running out of money. Tionghoa Surabaya was a powerhouse for the ethnic Chinese, so they created a football association within Dutch's own, and then in 1930, Suratin, a Harvard graduate, created a federation for the natives, PSSI. In January 1937, NIVU and PSSI made an agreement to recognize each other as the only two top-level FA in Hindia Belanda. But before the World Cup, NIVU played a series of selection matches without PSSI knowing, and eventually built a team consisting of players from their own competition. That, and the fact that Hindia Belanda goes into the World Cup with a Dutch flag, made PSSI felt very hard done by. However, on FIFA's book, Dutch East Indies are the first Dutch colony to obtain FIFA membership. Not to mention the sheer amount of countries pulling out of the tournament, it always felt like it's gonna be Dutch A and Dutch B all along. And then there were 17. All 17 players born in Dutch East Indies, half European, half Chinese, from Moluccas, Minangkabau, Javanese. Even the team captain is a daughter. Some player even came from HBS, which is civic school. You know the story by now. A plucky Asian side had to face the beginning of Hungary's golden era in a knockout tournament. They only played a single game in a 6-0 defeat. It was never smooth sailing from the get-go. Now, literally, they took a boat trip in late April from Tanjung Priok to Genoa. It took them 3 weeks to get there before taking the train to Den Haag. In the Netherlands, they played 2 exhibition games, and on June 1st, they finally went to France to face Hungary. Now, it would be pretty hilarious to think that Hindia Belanda went from Tanjung Priok, went all the way straight to Port de Massey-Vos, lost to Hungary and pissed out back to Tanjung Priok. But they went back to Den Haag and even played against the national team of the Netherlands. 17 men went to France, the one and only time Indonesia managed to get into the World Cup. Despite not being a member of FIFA yet, they were invited for the qualification in 1950. However, it was still at the very young age of Asia, the early days of independence, rough economy, and the idea of going home after one game is a huge financial risk. In 1958, we had another shot for second appearance in the World Cup, except there was one roadblock. Now, thanks to Kanye, I can't really get into the details, but that means it's time for the quickfire round. There is a big in this area. Indonesia is mainly Muslim, and these guys recognize their independence the earliest. Oh no, it's the 1920s. Guess it's time for Britain to spin their wheel.
You ever done anything dangerous?
They created their own national team and football league system. The locals got together and thought, maybe they screwed us over here. Currently, Arabic countries gave more leeway to them. I wonder why. But in 1958, Turkey, Egypt, Indonesia, and Sudan all refused to play. Even in 1970, North Korea said, nope, I don't want to play you either. But hey, I guess I can see why. And now we're here. A long and rigorous AFC qualifier. More than 80 years have gone and we're so far away from laying a finger on the World Cup. Lost, withering away, down in a pile of struggle. But when you're at the lowest point, I guess the only way is up.